The ancient Romans made advancements in many fields. They improved science, war, medicine, and government, just to name a few. But the most outstanding achievements the Romans made were in the field of architecture. Roman architecture is extremely influential to modern architecture because they gave us the arch, pioneered the production of concrete and building with concrete, and made immensely complex buildings that use this unprecedented technology to put it to use like never before. The Romans began to experiment with the arch between the 4th and 3rd centuries BC. The new technology allowed architects to construct much heavier and larger buildings and aqueducts without using more material. A famous Roman aqueduct in France, pictured here, used 3 rows of arches to create and maintain a stable structure. Another famous building, the Colosseum, also used 3 rows of arches to support a crowd of 45,000 rowdy Romans. This wonder of the world was built between 70 AD and 83 AD and still stands today after hundreds of earthquakes and years of weathering. The science of the arch is helpfully demonstrated in the following video.
Arches are among the strongest and oldest structures designed by humans. This Roman aqueduct, located in France, is supported by arches. The strength of an arch is easily demonstrated with some stiff card. A model bridge constructed like this is not capable of supporting a wooden block. But if we create an arch with the card and support it at its ends, we now have a structure that will easily support the block.
We can see modern examples of the arch all around us. One of the more famous arches, the Gateway Arch in St. Louis, is a perfect example of the artistic use of the arch. This innovative invention of the Romans turned into one of our nation's greatest landmarks. Try to pay attention when you're walking around town. It is amazing to see just how many arches are used in modern architecture. The next great invention of the Romans is concrete. Concrete allowed the Romans to stem away from the more outdated stone buildings used by the Greeks to create more detailed and structurally sound buildings. The Romans began using concrete in the 2nd century BC. Concrete back then consisted of sand, gravel, pebbles, and chippings of stone mixed with lime and water. The end result was a substance that would take whatever mold you gave it. Concrete let the Roman architects create complex buildings, like the Roman Pantheon pictured here. Concrete is everywhere today. Every single foundation is made of concrete for any building being built, whether it be residential or commercial. In these buildings, all of the most necessary structural components are made of concrete. We can trust a technology invented by none other than the Romans thousands of years ago to keep us safe and secure. The Romans also used science to help create near-perfect structures. One of these was the typical Roman theater. Architects used 3 squares pegged at different rotations to create a perfectly round chorus. The Roman Pantheon was, in a sense, the culmination of all Roman innovation. The sheer size of the building is hard to imagine, but the wildest part is the space at the top. The Romans' knowledge of science, concrete, and arches led to the creation of a huge open dome. This is as innovative artistically as it is architecturally. We see the lasting impacts of it all over the place. The National Geographic special helps to explain the magnitude and importance of this building.
Here we are in the Pantheon, the greatest of all Roman domes. It's a culmination of their building technology using unreinforced concrete, and the whole space measures 150 foot wide and it's 150 foot tall. So it's a fantastic spatial experience.
The Pantheon is a mystery. That's its attraction. You cannot classify it. It doesn't look like anything you've ever seen. You go into it and the space is a rush that sweeps you up into it, and that's its fascination.
Its design is a work of genius.
This 150-foot space is held up by a 20-foot thick drum. Inside there are actual hidden voids right the way within the structure, like a honeycomb, and they are lightening the structure.
The key to its stability is a ring of stone at the dome's highest point. It's the focus of all the pressure. Each section of the vaulting pushes on this ring, and the equal forces on all sides cancel each other out. It's a neat, practical solution, but it also creates a tremendous visual effect. On a clear day, the sun shines like a spotlight into the space below.
The lasting impacts of the Romans appear everywhere, but are most predominantly seen in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. We modeled our government after the Romans, we used their layout to build our own, but most importantly we used their style and technology and architecture. Does the large dome shape on our Capitol building resemble anything? I think so. The Romans created a style unlike any other with unprecedented technology that trumps any civilization prior or after. We see the effects of this in all forms of life.